Okay, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the presenter series in anticipation of the IMDHA HypnoEXpo 2020, April 24th to the 26th here in Orlando, Florida. It's going to be a great time. We've got some magnificent programs for you on the course of the weekend, special entertainment and all kinds of great dues and a lovely banquet, and of course, all the marvelous educational opportunities that you've come to appreciate IACT and IMDHA for. And before and after those weekend dates, the 24th through the 26th, there will be some pre and post conference programs. And that's what we're doing in this series is we're talking about the folks that are going to be presenting those. So tonight, for example, we've got a great lineup for you. We're going to start out with Sheila Granger, who's going to be talking to you about well, all the good stuff about hypnopreneurs. And her title is a mouthful, and it's not on the page that's in front of me. So, so pardon me for the moment, but really about the business of hypnosis and getting your practice going. So this is a
wait, the successful hypnopreneur's business and marketing operating system.
Okay.
I was able to screen it.
Okay, and then the second half of the program we'll be talking with help me, Sherry Gilbert.
Yes.
Who will be talking about doing group smoking programs. So that's going to be a great thing as well. So
just a couple of things before we begin. CEUs are being given here, so go to your appropriate organization, go to IACT IMDHA, log on and tell them that you spent some time with us and you will get your CEUs. Other friendly organizations will do that as well. Next week on this very program, I get to talk for a little bit, as if I don't always, but I get to feature my secret sauce for session success, and the lovely Peter Blum will join us for Transonics.
Oh, right. So going to be a great show then. So come back next week, same time, same bat channel. But now we are here, as the guru says, and we will be here now. And I'm going to introduce to you Sheila Granger, who has gained her certification as a clinical hypnotherapist in the UK with the General Hypnotherapy Standards Council 8 years ago now, and has already been recognized by the, I'm sorry, it's more than 8?
It's 10 now.
Oh, it's 10 now. All right.
I must update my bio.
Well, it's daylight savings time, and I just made that adjustment.
and the leap year.
She has been recognized by the India Times. I thought it was Indiana at first, so I'm glad to know it's the India Times as Britain's leading hypnotist, which is just such a lovely title. And she has appeared on national television and BBC News. She's a popular speaker at conventions and universities, and she has trained over 2,500 practitioners in 9 countries. Count them. 9 countries. She's most known, of course, for the virtual gastric band program. If you're not aware of it, be aware of it, because it really is a cool, cutting-edge thing that that I think really brought Sheila, at least to my attention, and probably to the rest of us. She takes hypnosis into new areas, pioneering an educational performance program in schools and colleges, and taking hypnosis into business, and helping them with sales and productivity and mindset and all that great stuff. She's in the newspaper every time she turns around. So we are just delighted to have you with us here, Sheila. So welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for joining us, Sheila. And I can't wait to hear about hypnopreneurs and doing the business of it. But I really want to ask you real quick. I kind of take everybody by surprise on this, but you've got a 1 hour or 2 that you're presenting that I think is so cool. The 1 hour that you'll present at the conference is the client's eating, identifying the client's eating type for weight loss solutions. Eating type. Do you mean if they should eat carbs, if they are type A, if they are, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, no, I've linked it all to clients' habits, because if we can, somebody said, oh, they want to lose weight. Well, what is it that we do? Because if you think about, I think it being like a bramble bush, all these branches of suggestions that people have been made from a young age of their eating habits, of what they shouldn't eat. Our clients are expert in dieting because they've done all the diets that are out there. How do we get, to cut through some of those branches easily? What should we be focusing on? And I've identified 6 different types of eaters. And if we focus our solutions around those things, then we can easily create a program that's the best for the client, that cuts through all those branches and clears the way for a new set of habits fairly easily.
All right.
Excellent.
And that's at 1 o'clock on Friday. So it's a 50-minute, I guess, program. So everybody be sure and check that one out. But now we've got you here because we really want to hear about the successful hypnopreneurs. I think hypnopreneurs is worth a hell of a lot of points on a Scrabble board, don't you? It's just such a great thing. The successful hypnopreneurs business and marketing operating system. And Sheila, just to kind of kick that off, how important is having a marketing plan in hypnosis business?
If I'd had a marketing plan when I first started out and had any idea of how to market my services, I would have landed where I am now, probably 5 years earlier. It wouldn't have been a case of, well, I'll give this a go, or I'll just do this. If we have some idea of where we want to get to, or even who our audience should be, who should we market to, then we're going to attract the right people at the right price. And it's so important that we can make a living out of what we do. There's actually nothing wrong with doing that. And we come from a naturally caring background. We want to help people, and that's right. We've got to work from the right place all of the time. But there's a big market of people who, it's no good as marketing to, because they can't afford our services. If we market to the people who can afford our services, so that we can make a decent living out of what we do, and there's no reason why we shouldn't do that, then it also frees our time up to work with the people who can't afford our services. So, I do events for people who wouldn't normally be able to afford my services. I'll work with the homeless. I put a VIP day on last year for the homeless, because I always think of hypnosis sometimes as creating marginal gains for people. It's not always black and white. It's not always, can I stop this person smoking? Yeah, they're still smoking, or no, they stopped. Have they lost weight, or no, they haven't? Sometimes with some of the work I do, it's about creating marginal gains. And I'd heard in my area that the homeless were getting a really bad press. They were drinking, they were taking drugs, they were stealing, they were taking a really bad slating in the local media. And then I'd overheard from a lady at a networking group that confidence was the one thing, or one of the things, that stops people who are homeless getting back into society again. Mm. So I immediately thought, well, confidence. I can help with confidence. So I put on a VIP day for the homeless. I got a hotel who gave me the room for free of charge, and I got a celebrity hairdresser who would do makeovers for them. I got a clothing company who donated new outfits. I got a recruitment company to give them help with their job applications, etc. And I did a big thing on confidence and self-esteem. I got a couple of speakers who had been homeless themselves and they'd gone off to start businesses. And, we held this VIP day. Now, that isn't, they were on my marketing plan. They weren't a group of people I would normally market to. But because I had a marketing plan in place for the rest of my hypnosis business, where I knew that I was getting clients anyway, then I could afford the time to work with this group of people who normally wouldn't be able to afford my services, but perhaps I could make a little bit of a difference too.
So, Sheila, when you do that, excuse me for interrupting, but when you do that, you market that too, do you not?
Yes.
Does it get tangential benefit from and great press from doing that kind of thing?
Yeah, well? Absolutely. And I say sometimes it's the universe has a way of paying you back for doing that kind of thing. So yeah, we've done a press release. And, you know, press and media can be a great way of exploding your practice. And I mean, it's sometimes just about being brave enough to do that, to write the press release about something and think, you know, well, I'm not scared of what the media might write. And the BBC rang me in the morning of that event and said, we want to come and film that event for primetime television.
Yeah.
So, you know, the universe does have a way of turning that round, because you are putting yourself out there. But just going back to Michael's earlier question about a marketing plan, you know, there's something called, and this amazed me when I first heard about it, because I really hadn't thought of things in this way, but there's something called a money pyramid. And this pyramid exists in any financial market, in any state, in any city, in that 1% of that community are super rich. They're super rich. Another 4% of that community are prosperous. 15% of people are earning a good living. But when you go beyond that, 60% of people are in an endless financial struggle. 60% of people. And 20% are flat broke. Well, that would mean then that probably 80% of the population are no good for us to market our services to, because they can't afford them.
Right.
You know, whereas if we can, and I've always viewed myself as a little bit of a Robin Hood, really. You know, I'm going to take it from the people who can afford to pay me quite happily, but that means I can then give back into my local community in another way, because I've got the time and the financial capability to do that. So when we look at our marketing plan, you know, we've got to be marketing probably only to 20% of the population who are either they've got a good living, they're prosperous, or they're rich. So, you know, a lot of when we know who our audience is, we best know how to target them and how to market to those people who can actually afford our services. Whilst at the same time, if you study successful people in any business, you'll find that they all give back in some way. I think if we're not careful as a profession, though, especially when we first start out, we start from a place of give back and we don't move out of that give back. And so that we never get into the people who can afford our services to build it into a successful business.
Right.
So do you actually write down, Sheila, a 12-month plan, an annual plan? So you're going to do this in January, you're going to do this in February, on Valentine's Day, you're going to have a couples event, that kind of thing.
I often, like, sometimes, you know, when I present in places, I say, okay, I would like you all, in fact, you could all do this now, and I'd like you all to get a piece of paper and a pen for me, and I'd like you to write down the number of pages your current marketing plan has. And most people will write down a 0. You know? Yes, it hasn't got. I haven't got any paper. I think, oh yes, I'll write it. Oh, 0. Because, you know, it's different for everybody. So some people, it's like with our clients. Some people, yeah, they know exactly where they want to be, you know, and what that looks like financially, and what they would do with it in their life if they had that financially. And, you know, yeah, they can break that down into 12 months. Other people, just like our clients, yeah, they've got an idea, but they're not 100% sure where they want to be. They've got some vague idea, but they know what they need each month to get by. So perhaps it's a month at a time plan.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody's different. There's not an absolute, this is the way a marketing plan has to be written. And I think when you talk about business and you talk about marketing plans, everybody thinks, oh, this is a really boring subject. And, you know, I don't want to be tied down to plans and financial numbers. And
Yeah.
But it's about making that exciting. And I'll let you into a secret. When I first started, it was when I first started sending emails out to people, and I realised, and we should do this with our, with our clients. We should keep in touch with them in some way, even if just to keep in touch with them. We shouldn't ever fire our clients, which we tend to do in this profession. We tend to sort of say, yeah, goodbye, you know where I am if you need me. We kind of sack our client, don't we? What other profession does that? But we do, goodbye. But, when I first started sending emails out to existing clients, and I realised that, hang on, if I send emails out, X amount of money in sales tends to come back in again. And this was really early on when I'd started keeping in touch with people. And I used to have this, we used to call it our summer car. In the garage, there was a little two-seater soft top car. It was a really old one. And I thought, we could do with a new one really for the summer. And I'm somebody who, if I decide I'm going to do something, well, that's it. There's no hanging around. We're doing that in the next couple of days. Much to the frustration of my partner, who thinks, can't we just take a look around at things? I'm like, no, we're doing that now. So within 2 days of this idea of the car, I'd seen the car. It was 2 hours drive away, and I said to my partner, right, we're going to go and drive down and get this car. And he said, have you got the money in the bank for it? And I'm like, well, no, not all of it. But I will have, and I set myself a thing. I thought, I'm going to decide that I'm going to write some emails that are going to be very beneficial for my customer, but I want it to attract more sales into the business. And so I had a rough idea of a financial goal that I wanted from sending the emails out. As we drove out the drive to collect this car that I bought, I set the emails running. And it was a game to whether I could bring that back in again by the time I brought this new car back onto the drive. And it did actually work out. And I'm not saying that sort of from any point of view of, to be clever or smart about it. It's more, that we can actually make things like numbers exciting and a bit of fun, as opposed to, them being a boring thing. Because I'm rubbish with numbers. I hate numbers. That's why we have an accountant, isn't it? Because I can give him a big box of rubbish and say, you sort that out. But we've got to, but business is about numbers, and having some kind of financial targets. And even if you were to think about it in terms of, in broad terms, how much do you need to pay your bills in the next 12 months? Because that has to be the starting point with our hypnotherapy practice, doesn't it? And I'm not going to do any currency conversion here. So these are just numbers off the top of my head. But if you wanted, in broad terms, if you wanted to earn, you needed 60,000 to pay your bills, everything else. And then we want to make it a little bit of fun, because otherwise we don't want a job that's just paying the bills, because otherwise I can just go and get a job. Why would I do anything different? But then make it a bit of fun. What else would you like in your life in the next 12 months? Do you need a new car? Do you want a new kitchen? Do you want to move house? What's that actually going to look like financially? How much is that all going to cost? So if you then thought, okay, so I want another 30,000 for whatever. So then we've got a figure for our business, haven't we? 90,000 in the next 12 months. And that figure then becomes everything. It then becomes, how are you going to set your prices to what you're going to charge somebody? How much do you need, to earn per week to make that 90,000 happen? How many clients at what price? But it's about making it a bit of fun as well, as opposed to, this is something to, stick to beat me with, or.
And it's not just for when you start out. I mean, we can reinvent ourselves all along the way too. We can get new benchmarks. Things change. We evolve. Mm-hmm. You started out as a hypnotist. Then you evolved into the virtual gastric band guru. And then you evolved into the business guru. And you know, things change. You are an
Yeah.
author and a speaker, and you do so many things other than when you first started your business. So you've had to reinvent yourself, redesign those benchmarks, and redesign the pillars all along the way, have you not?
Absolutely. And it's also, you know, once you start looking at it in these terms as well, you start to realize what is possible. What is possible. Because you started to push yourself a little bit more and go a little bit more out on a limb. And absolutely, Karen, you know, reinvent yourself as the time goes on. You know, if I look back now, if somebody had said to me when I first started in this profession, oh, you know, you'd be, you know, presenting or teaching, or you'd have books out, I'd be like, you must be absolutely mad, you know, that's never going to happen. But, you know, on the business side of things as well, you know, there's a phrase that goes, you know, you cannot grow the business without growing the business owner.
Yeah.
You know,
And that is so true, you know.
if I might, by the way, I want to do two things here if I can. I want to do a little commercial for you because you know, Sheila was also a guest on the Galaxy of the Stars that we just did in February. The flash drive is now available. Have you got yours yet, Sheila?
I've got mine, yes, thank you.
Because I don't know how long it takes to get them across.
Yeah, it was really quick.
Across the pond.
Really quick.
But she did a wonderful piece there about business planning and, you know, and just working the business and getting your community engaged. And what I really like about you, if I can just kind of draw this out of you a little bit, is that we as hypnotists are sort of accustomed to this idea about there's something that I want and I'm going to visualize it, I'm going to get it in my consciousness, and something's just going to take me there magically. But you know, this thing about running a business is most of the time is being on the road between here and the destination. And that's what I think is beautiful about these notions of planning, rather than just saying, here's what I want. You came up with some really creative kind of things to get people involved in your business and stuff like that. And that's where you live in it day to day. That's what's going to satisfy you as an entrepreneur. Is if the activity of doing the business isn't satisfactory, and the only thing that it's about is what's going to happen someday when it's all over, you know. So I really appreciate that.
Thank you. And it is strange, isn't it? What drives people? And you know, we're great with this profession in that we can start to sort of analyze ourselves, can't we? You know, and I honestly believe that what drives me, and because I always, you know, want to be able to take hypnosis into the next area and the next area and the next area, and let's test it in business, let's test it in schools, let's do this. And my partner, he's completely the opposite to me. So I'm a very, you know, positive, can-do kind of person, and he's a very black and white. And we'll stay on the same path. We won't deviate away from it in any way at all. And I used to say to him, I'm thinking about going and doing this with hypnosis. And he's like, you're absolutely mad. That you are never, ever, ever going to be able to make that happen. But he's learned now, if I say I'm going to do something, it is going to happen one way or the other. I am going to make that happen. But I think really what drives me is, yes, of course, you know, commercially, you know, I think, yes, well, I want to take hypnosis into new areas, and I love my profession, and of course, all of those things. But also, I think it goes back to, I was adopted when I was 6 weeks old. So I wasn't good enough when I was born. And I had my adoptive parents, or my adoptive mum, was super critical. And so I probably wasn't good enough then either. So I have this psyche, believe it or not, I have this underlying psyche that I'm not good enough. So I actually think, but a lot of us have that I'm not good enough kind of feeling about a lot of things. So I know that's not unusual, but I drive that, I suppose, in a positive way. So, you know, in a way, by me doing the next thing with hypnosis and the next thing with hypnosis and the next thing with my business, I'm almost looking for this external verification that's going to say, you are good enough. But of course, that's never, all right, I might get some external verification, but as we know, it won't get rid of the underlying feeling. So I have to push that out again and again and again. But it actually, in a way, it works in my favour to have that. Because if I didn't, I think sometimes people say to me, what is it that, because I meet a lot of hypnotherapists, and so many people who are fantastic at this profession. They are, brilliant hypnotists. They know far more than I know, in skill sets, etc. But probably their business isn't where it should be for the skill set that they have. Is it that the knowledge isn't there? If you like, they've spent all their efforts on the hypnosis and the techniques and all that type of thing, and they haven't learnt the business side of things. And is that why it's not where it should be? Or is it because they've not got skin in the game? Because I think sometimes, with the learning the business and the number side of it, of running it like that, is having skin in the game. When I started with the profession, I come from a background of fraud investigation. So I was a fraud officer for the local government. I investigated people who weren't quite as disabled as they claimed to be. They were great with their, on the form, so disabled they can't put the food into their mouth, but they were extremely good on the golf course. Mm-hmm. And so I don't come from any therapy or business background at all. And like most of us, we kind of fall into this profession. And then we get sucked in and it takes over your whole of your life. But we come into this profession with no business or marketing background, and we just want to help people. And I was just like that, and I never intended to start any kind of business or. But then I noticed the difference you make to somebody's life, and that drive takes over because you want to do more and more and more of that. And I'd reached a point where I was had clients coming up pretty regularly, but I had this day job, and that was paying the bills. So how do you make that leap from one to the other? And I was fortunate I could drop the number of hours I was doing for the government. So I was fortunate in that respect. But sooner or later, I had to take my foot out of that market, out of the day job. And I was getting divorced. There was only myself and my daughter at home. There was only me to pay the bills. It wasn't an option not to make it. But even from going to a day job to doing this full time, that's now the same as you get so far with your hypnotherapy business, you're getting some clients through the door, but you want something more, you think you could do it, do something better. And sooner or later, you have to make another decision, another leap to what you're going to do. Either be, niching or, even, I remember the first time when I was presenting, because probably a lot, there's people within the profession as well who probably look up to presenters and think, oh, well, I want to be able to present. And, they've maybe been doing delivering some training of some description in their own area, or they might want to take it, on more of an international stage, and not sure how to do that. So that's why, again, we could always come back to the marketing and the business side of it, don't we? And learning that side of things. But everything from giving up the day job to expanding your business to going and delivering teaching or training, everything is, a step out of the comfort zone every time, isn't it? Everything is learn more knowledge, take a step out of the comfort zone. I remember when I was first going to America to deliver a seminar on gastric band, and there was a gentleman called Mark Carlin in New York, and we'd only ever had a couple of Skype calls. And he arranged this first seminar for me. And it was only when I was sitting on the plane and I thought, what if everybody thinks this is rubbish? What if everybody thinks that what I'm going to talk about is an absolute load of rubbish? And you know, you have those scary moments, don't you? The lady, she was sitting at the front of the seminar room, and she said to me, I was just setting up, and she said, I don't know what I'm doing here. She said, because I've been taught by the best trainers in America, and I've been doing this since 1982 or something. So I don't know what you're going to teach me that I don't already know. I think, oh, no pressure. Get me out on the next plane. You never have to see me again. It's okay.
Well, she was going to learn Sheila's way, wasn't she?
Exactly.
And nobody else could teach that to her.
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
And
Yeah.
I'm wondering, Sheila, if from that perspective, is there a tip, trick, insider secret about setting yourself apart, becoming, I mean, you obviously know what you have, what you can do. Is there a tip for everybody about how to set yourself apart?
Yeah, but that is the thing is okay, yes, we are all different and unique, and how we work with our clients is different, and how we teach people is different, because it's you and that can't be taken away. But to set yourself apart, again, it all comes back to having the knowledge to create the right marketing plan that's going to set you aside. You know, because, and you know, the biggest step is simply putting yourself out there. You know, when we're looking at press and media, you know, sort of on the full class, if you like, I go into press and media quite a lot. But the press and media, you know, if you go and get a press article written about you, you are immediately setting yourself aside from the other hypnotists in your area, because that press article is about you.
Yeah.
And it's you that people will ring. You know, you're already portraying yourself as an expert. You know, we tend to mix, don't we, with a lot of the time with other hypnotists. So we think, oh yeah, somebody else has already done that, so it's pointless me doing it in my area. Where somebody could literally, I tend to give away a lot of my press releases that have been written about me, because I know that, you know, somebody else could take that. They could rub the name Sheila Granger off it, write their name on it, give it to their local media, and get press coverage.
Sure.
Because, you know, if you like, although we are evolving as a profession all of the time, and the knowledge that we have about, you know, neuroscience and everything else, you know, in a way, there is nothing completely new. You know, the techniques that are taught within courses, you know, there's nothing really new. It's just how people are putting that information that they've learned together. But, you know, it's from techniques that have been around for years. It's just their spin on that technique and how they're using it and what words they're using to put it together that works really well for them and can work really well for other people. So if you like, whatever you come up with isn't going to be completely new. You know, virtual gastric band is a metaphor, isn't it?
Sure.
You know, so, you know, and I know there's hypnotists within their practice who are already putting their unique spin on things, but they could probably take it to another level fairly quickly.
I think I've always thought, Sheila, that was one of the beauties of virtual gastric band is here's the basic bones, the layout of the plan. Now add what you know to it and make this work for your client.
Yeah, it's got to be. It's got to be. Yeah, I mean, I've sort of laid it out in a framework of things to look at and, you know, different, say, metaphors, aversions, you know, how do you form associations, you know, how do you break the trance, you know, which trances do we need to break? So, yeah, and it's my sort of spin on those things. But, you know, that concept can be used by different people in different ways, can't it?
Yeah.
Sheila, if I can break in here for a second and just let people know we are about 6 or so minutes is all we've really got left. So if anybody has a question for Sheila, you can either, you know, wave your hand, or if you know how to open your microphone, you can go ahead and do that, or you can type it in the chat room, whichever of those things work for you. And in the meantime, of course, we're we're just going to keep talking to you, Sheila.
Okay.
We tend to have a kind of a shy little group out here. Anyway, sometimes they will write questions for us. But I think one of the deals that makes this so important, and just to impress the folks listening with this idea, is that most of us got involved with hypnosis without any idea that we were also going to have to get involved with business. It was like, hypnosis is interesting to me, and I'm going to learn more about that and more about that. And if I really want to be a great hypnotist, I'm going to learn more about that and more about that. And then, I'm sitting in my office. It's 9:05. And the phone isn't ringing and nobody's at the door, right? So I think that this is, a lot of hypnotists have just this issue, and it isn't really in our training courses, and that's why it's so lovely that that there's an opportunity to do a whole day with Sheila, and she can go through it all for you and get you back on the right road. So how cool is this? And that is one day, and it is what day, by the way? You are on Monday?
April 27th.
Yeah, on Monday at the end of the weekend. And anything that you might want to let us know about what's going to be happening in your classroom? What would that be like?
Yes, I'll tell you what that will be like in 1 second. So yeah, I mean, it's covering everything really, from because we are all different. So I actually, it will only be a small class, and the reason for that being is because it has to be where I can spend some time with people as well to get to know you in the class, because we're all very different and unique, and what we want and what we want to achieve or have even dreamed about will all be completely different. And so, so people will go away with not only just the ideas of what they could do, but their own plan as well, so that they know, what do I need to do? What actions do I need to take on a weekly basis or a monthly basis that's going to make it happen for me? Mm-hmm. Because for some people, well, that might be, okay, well, I need to do some more press and media. For other people, it might be, well, I need to go out and do some more presentations in my area. Mm-hmm. And it will all be things that people can do on Monday morning that don't cost any money. I'm from Yorkshire. We don't spend money in Yorkshire. Well, actually, I do. I'm the exception. But generally, people from Yorkshire don't spend any money, because we can get and it's all things that, is based around what you can do in your community. I'll cover the online stuff and beyond, but to really build our business, it starts locally. What can we do to infiltrate our local community in a way that brings clients banging on your door? And how do we also make the most of the client that we have in front of us? Because, I can probably make one client create a minimum of 6 opportunities for me. So, one client should just be able to lead you to the next, to the next, to the next. So sometimes it's not just that we have to go and find more people. We have to make the most out of the client sitting in front of us.
Sure.
Who can they introduce us to? I get introduced to, contacts in schools and colleges. And a lot of that time, it comes from me networking with my own clients.
Sure.
Who's come to me for weight loss or something else, and I have having a general chat with them about something afterwards.
Yeah, and your clients carry your name out with a testimonial. As well. They're talking to their friends, hopefully, and about you, and telling you about the experience that they had, telling them about the experience that they had, and and how wonderful it was.
Yeah, so, exactly. That they're giving the kind of proof, aren't they, that what you do works, and how you.
The most valuable personal endorsement.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So no, it's going to be an intense day. And for anybody who does come on the class, it's going to be an intense day. But, you know, the more we are all, I think Jason Linett has a phrase, the more we're all successful, the more we're all successful. But it's so true in that, you know, if I get a article in the press, or if anybody gets an article in the press about hypnosis, you know, it's not just me that benefits from that. You know, it's the whole of the profession that benefits from it. And, you know, I think, you know, to grow as a profession, there's a couple of things that I would like to see happen. One is that, you know, the research and the clinical work continues to provide, you know, more evidence that, if you like, what we do works, and how that can impact on people. You know, I'd like to see an organisation that's almost able to fund ongoing research as well. Wouldn't that be great if we could do that as a profession? But the other side of it is also that, you know, we could have, you know, that hypnosis is almost on the high street. It's as normal to go for a massage as it is to go for a hypnosis session. And, you know, so if we run our hypnosis practices as businesses, then we create that almost hypnosis on the high street. Yeah. And so that people in your community know that you're there today, you're there tomorrow, you're going to be there in 5 years, you're going to be there in 10 years. You know, we create longevity in our practices. So that, you know, and put those two things together, and we would create magic in our profession.
Absolutely. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Sheila Granger, who's going to be doing the Successful Hypnopreneur's Business and Marketing Operating System. I love it. She's holding a sign. Oh, that's the name of it. Yeah. Right. A lot of letters. The Successful Hypnopreneur's Business and Marketing Operating System on Monday, the 27th. So at the end of the hypnosis weekend.
And you get a free book.
Oh, wow. Ooh. So the new book.
The new book.
That's great.
Forward by Sir Robert Otto.
Oh, lovely. All right. Well, thank you, Sheila. We appreciate you being with us here tonight, and it's got to be late for you.
Thank you, Chris.
And like I said, we were terrified because you haven't gone on daylight savings time yet either. So, and we just did that last night. So I thought, oh, does she even know what time it is here? And
yeah, well, it was only because I happened to look this morning because I'd written in my diary that it was 1:30 a.m. my time. Mm-hmm. So I was like, oh no, 1:30.
Yeah.
I thought I'll just quickly check what time it is EST.
And so this got you an extra hour.
Got me an extra hour. Yeah. I have no excuse for having turned up today and having just got out of bed.
I think you do, Sheila. And we're so glad that you're with us. Thank you very much.
So thanks so much, Sheila. We really appreciate it. And ladies and gentlemen, a hand for Sheila, Sheila Granger. And now we've got just a really quick little announcement to make once again, just to remind everybody we're talking about the IACT IMDHA HypnoEXpo, April 24th through the 26th in Orlando, Florida, and with pre and post conference programs. We are here talking about the pre and post conference programs. And you can get CEUs for being here tonight, and all you have to do is log into the member website, and when you log in, there's a little card that comes up where you can enter that you attended the presenter series and you want some CEUs for that. I want to remind you that next week, see, now I get to say it, so she doesn't have to say yours truly and all of that stuff. We will be interviewing Karen Hand, and I will be interviewing Karen Hand.
I will ask the fascinating questions, I promise.
I'll bet. Well, yeah, and her topic is the secret sauce for session success. Try saying all those S's with new dentures. And Peter Blum will be the other guest that night, who is talking about transonics. So that's going to be exciting as well.
It'll be fun. But for tonight, we
Yeah.
have Sherry Gilbert in the house.
We do indeed.
And Michael, if you don't mind, while I am introducing Sherry, if she'll open her mic, because I see that she doesn't have her mic open yet. And she'll be talking in just a second. Sherry's been a hypnotherapist since 2001 and is a faculty member for the Southwest Institute of Healing Arts. She holds a degree in holistic health from the American Institute of Holistic Theology and earned the title of 2016 Hypnotist of the Year from the IMDHA. So congratulations on that, Sherry. And we're really excited to hear what you're going to talk to us about tonight with your full day on, let's see, Michael, I did it. This is smoking cessation for groups. I knew it a moment ago. And of course, when I had to say it, there it goes.
But before we talk about that, let me just sort of jump in here, and just as we did in the first half as well. And Sherry, we noticed that you also have a 1-hour program. We want to let people know about that. And the topic is house and tree and person drawings, which sounds like a lovely, fun time. Can you just tell us really quickly what that's about? Oh, Sherry, your microphone still seems to be not. Well, your microphone is not muted, but I'm not hearing you.
No, I don't see any muting on it at this point.
Uh-oh.
Oh, and I so want to hear about this.
Okay, so Sherry, let me give you just a really quick little instruction, if you don't mind. Down in the lower left-hand corner of your screen, do you see the microphone icon? And next to it, there's a little caret, a little up arrow. If you click on that, a list will come up of the available microphones. Maybe you've got the wrong one checked. You might just test that out.
Hear me now?
Yeah.
I can hear you now.
Yay!
I use Zoom all the time, so I didn't think to check it. I apologize for that. And as long as I'm apologizing, let me apologize for my voice. I have a cold tonight, so we'll see how well my voice does. So the shorter program is the kinetic house tree person drawings, which is a lot of fun. We're going to get to play with crayons and color, and it's a great technique where you have a client on the same sheet of paper draw in any order they want, a house, a tree, and a person, and then have them tell you the story about that house, tree, and person. And if you've been stuck with a client and you just can't seem to break loose, this is a really great technique to kind of unsuspectingly get in touch with their subconscious. And usually I get 2-3 really great ideas for doing the next session with it. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Bring your inner child, we'll play.
That kind of thing is right up my alley. I cannot wait. I'm going to love that. But your one day on smoking cessation for groups, that's Monday, April 27th. That's going to be a very cool thing too. Is it different, Sherry, to work in groups than one-on-one, other than just the obvious that there are 20 people instead of one?
Yeah, it is very different because you want to take advantage of and manage the group environment. One of the biggest things with smoking cessation is having this sense of camaraderie, this sense of connection, support, even accountability, and having a group of people to do that with is really great. I've recently added in having a closed Facebook group for everyone to kind of stay in touch with each other throughout the week. And so that's really a lot of fun to add all that in. But there's also then the dynamic of what do I do with the group, right? How do I manage all of them telling their stories? How do I manage checking in on their homework? How do I get them all to know, like, and trust each other? And how do I manage it if someone's being a little challenging, a little bit difficult? So we'll be touching on all those things, and it's all just kind of written right into the program.
Do people still smoke?
Oh my gosh. I looked up the most recent statistics on this, and from the 2018 from the CDC, it's still telling us that 34 million people in the United States smoke, which is shocking to me. And more than 16 million Americans live with a smoking related disease. But this number is what actually kind of really blew my mind, is that smoking related illness in the United States costs more than $300 billion a year. Isn't that shocking? But scarier is that if cigarette smoking continues at the current rate among the youth, those under 18 in this country, Americans younger than 18 will die early from a smoking-related illness. 1 out of about every 13 Americans age 17 years or younger will die early from a smoking-related disease, because since the advent of vaping, so many of our young people are smoking like crazy.
Yeah. That's what I was going to ask you. Is vaping, does it work the same way that you work with smoking cigarettes? Are they in the same groups, for example, or do you have to separate them out?
You don't have to separate them out, but what's interesting over this past year is my groups have become just amongst themselves a little bit separated. I don't intentionally do that, and you'll have people who smoke cigarettes and vape, and I don't intentionally separate them out, but I do try and keep my under 18 crowd separate from my over 18 crowd. And because of that, I am seeing more vaping with the younger population, and so that's more where I'll just see just the vaping. But you don't have to separate it from one to the other, because the techniques are the same, the scripts are the same, how you run the group is the same.
When you talk about vaping for younger folks, are you talking about the teenagers, I'm going to say, calling you and saying, oh my God, I've got to quit this habit? Or do you have moms and dads dragging them in or dragging them to a group? Are they actually deciding, I want to give this up? It could hurt me. How's that working?
I won't take someone if parents are dragging them in. I actually will have a phone conversation with them and make sure that this is something that they want to do, because I don't want to drag them in and have them belligerent and antagonistic. So I'll talk with them, sometimes meet in person with them, and if this is what they want to do, then I will support them with it. And a surprising percentage of kids really do want to get off of it. And the big reason, I wish it was health, but it's not. The big reason is money.
Yeah.
Is money.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. They have X number of dollars to spend, and they're spending it all on vaping, and after a while they don't want to spend it all on vaping. They want to buy a car. They want to be able to take a spring break trip, their senior year. There's things that they want to be able to go do, and if their parents won't give them extra money for it, they've got to figure out where they're going to get the money from.
Yeah.
I've had Sherry clients come up with this question, and I'll bet you have the answer for this. They say, well, I want to quit smoking, but just cigarettes. I want to keep smoking pot. So can you make me just give up cigarettes?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, sometimes I'll have people do the opposite. Sometimes I'll have people just, if they want to stop smoking tobacco and they want to continue using marijuana, I do recommend that they'll use marijuana in a different form for a couple of months so that it doesn't get confused in their mind. There's so many different ways of using marijuana. So if they're using it for pain or anxiety or something like that, I do suggest to them that they may find that they don't need to use it as often, because these techniques that they'll be learning to manage their smoking will also work for pain management, also work for stress, anxiety, etc. So if they're using it for that purpose, they may find that they're starting to use it less. If they're just using it to party, that's a completely different thing. It won't affect that at all. But absolutely, if that's what they want to do, they can absolutely do it.
Yeah, I was thinking the vaping crowd probably isn't medicinal purposes here.
You never know. You never know. They're here in Arizona, we have a lot of people using it for, I'm going to say medicinal purposes, but the amount that they're using doesn't seem particularly medicinal to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, not enough, right?
Yeah.
Seriously, by the way, if I might just, and I don't want to take time away with this, but I have glaucoma, and I had talked to an ophthalmologist about marijuana and glaucoma. And he told me that, that the statistics, of course, show in laboratory rats or something that there's some benefit. But the truth of the matter is that for there actually to be any benefit, you would have to smoke so much of it that you wouldn't even be able to walk across the room. So, just as good as being blind, I suspect.
You wouldn't mind being blind so much, right? So.
Yeah, that's
I
right.
do
That's
think that
right.
there are appropriate
So for
medical
any
uses
of,
of it. I did help my dad get his medical card after my mom passed because he had really bad anxiety, and for a couple of months he needed a little help, and so he did use it, but one hit on the vape pen um, in the morning, and that was it. That's all he needed to do. So there are ways to use it in a way that really can be beneficial. So if somebody wants to stop smoking tobacco but still continue to use marijuana, I will support that 100%.
All right. So in terms of this program itself, we're talking about with groups. So I just want to get the right picture in my mind, because in my head, the first thing that I think of when I hear somebody say something about smoking in groups is those hotel ballroom things with
Yeah.
60 people, and which by the way Robert Otto did for years,
yeah.
traveling across the country. Uh, are we talking about something like that, or something that's multiple sessions, or
I am talking about multiple sessions. However, there is a single session script in the material. So if someone wanted to do it in that way, what I would recommend they use is a single session script. I do single sessions with my clients that I have worked with on other issues, and we've cleared through a lot of other layers, and now this is the last thing we're doing. And a lot of times a single session is absolutely all they need. But this group is mostly designed for you to have 6 people, 12 people, 20 people. I probably wouldn't have more than 20. I don't have the space for it, but and working in a 6-week program so that they're coming back week after week after week and getting that reinforcement week after week after week.
And then in the group, I guess they quit at various times. Some people may
Yes.
quit after the very first session, and some people may still be smoking at the third session.
Right. In the first session, part of the group activity is them picking their stop date. So some people are going to stop right then and there. Some people are going to stop by the 3rd session. Some people are going to stop by the 6th session. And they get to choose that, and they get to support each other in making that choice. So they actually, part of the course materials are a little contract that they sign with themselves that says this is when I'm going to be completely free of tobacco.
Devilish little compounding effect you've going on there too, because the people who quit after the very first session are still coming back to tell everybody, oh, look how well this works. This has been so easy for me. That's brilliant. And if they quit after the very first session, do they continue to come back for the next 5 sessions?
They almost all do, because there's so many good things that they're going to get in the session. When we stop smoking, a lot of things in our life changes. The way that we handle stress changes. Even our relationships change. So each of the weeks addresses different areas, and there's different things that they want to get out of it. So they're going to keep coming back. So the 6th session, I actually talk a lot about relationships, and I give them some communication skills. And a lot of times they just keep coming because they want those communication skills, because when they stop smoking and they don't have this ability to walk away from their boss and go have a cigarette, they don't have this ability to walk away from their significant other and go have a cigarette, then suddenly they have to actually deal with them, and that can create some strife in the relationships. So we are going to teach them how to actually get through those communication issues and resolve them in a really healthy way. So they're getting so much out of the program above and beyond cigarettes, because as we all know, when we stop something major like smoking, it affects every area of our life.
And so all of that is inclusive in the program that you're offering here.
Yes.
Now, you're covering so much in this program. My next question was going to be, does this parlay itself into people coming back to you to work on other things? But it sounds like you're working on an awful lot just in this group session.
Yeah, they're getting an awful lot.
Generalized, right?
Yeah.
You might generalize them right into health, Sherry.
Yeah. Well, what's going to happen is they're going to get so much out of it that they're out in the community singing my praises. My practice is 100% referral, either from referral from previous clients or referrals from doctors or lawyers or other people in the community. But my practice, if someone finds me from my website or finds me on social media, I don't take them. I'm too busy. I will refer them to a colleague, but it's all referral, and it's referral because They get so much value. Every client that walks in my office, whether for a group or for a private session, should get so much value for their time with me that they're out there in the community saying, if you're not seeing Sherry Gilbert, there's something wrong with you.
Nice.
So is there anything else that you do with the people in this group? I mean, is it all just about confidence and other things to do with your hands? Do you tell them about health? Do you tell them in general anything, supplements they can take or anything else that might make it easier?
Yeah, we're actually working on a lot of those different things. So we're going to teach them diaphragmatic breathing to reset their autonomic nervous system. We're going to teach them some neuroplasticity to change the way that they're thinking about things. But we also do now, I'm not a medical practitioner, so I do recommend that they go see a doctor at some point during this program and have some blood work done, because we know that smoking means that they're not absorbing nutrients the same way. So they might be eating super clean and super healthy, but let's face it, most smokers aren't. But even if they are, they're not absorbing nutrients in the same way that non-smokers might be. So when you are deficient in selenium or D's or B's or magnesium, it's not only affecting your sleep, it's affecting how well you're going to detox from cigarettes. It's affecting how anxious you might feel. It can cause depression. We're finding more and more that a lot of mental, emotional issues really come down to being deficient in things. And some of us just are always deficient in things, either because we're smokers or because we have genetic issues. And just going in and getting a little bit of blood work and getting on the right supplements can make their life so much better and make going through this process so much better. If they don't have a good primary care doctor that they work with, I do have a couple of doctors of osteopathy and a couple of naturopaths that I work with that will meet with them and do the blood work for them. And it's a great reciprocal relationship, because I keep my RAC cards about smoking cessation in their office, and then if they need medical support along the way, then I'll refer back to them. And that's another way that you really grow your business and your practice.
Nice.
But yeah, taking care of our health is a really crucial piece of this. Another thing I anchor in is drinking plenty of cool, clear, refreshing water, because if they are drinking enough water, they will detox faster. They're going to feel better faster. So instead of just looking at this from one angle, I'm looking at how can we help them from as many angles as possible, so that when they get done with this 6 weeks, they feel better physically, mentally, emotionally, energetically. They just feel like they're on the top of the world. Now, having said that, still there's things that will get uncovered, and they'll very often come in and do private sessions with me. Maybe not right then, but down the road. When you've been in practice long enough, they come back. Just this week, I saw 2 clients that I worked with 15 years ago. So, they'll come back. They'll come back and they'll send people in to see you. I have families that I see pretty much every member of the family. There are businesses that I see pretty much every person who works in the office. And that's what you want. You want everybody out there saying, she changed my life. I went to her to stop smoking, and all of these areas of my life got better.
Nice. When you do the 6 sessions, how long are the sessions? Are they an hour and a half or something like that, or are they?
It depends on the size of the group. If the group is fairly small, 2 hours will work just fine. If it's a bigger group, then I'll do 2.5 hours to make sure we cover everything. Because in the beginning, you're going to be doing icebreakers. Now, if I'm doing a family and they already know each other, I'm going to skip the icebreakers. If I'm working in a corporate office, I'll probably skip that too, because they know each other pretty well. But generally, that's not the case. So I'll do icebreakers. We want to have some fun.
Yeah.
We want to talk about things that are going on in their lives, what's working for them, what's not working for them. Let the group give them advice. Excuse me.
That's all right.
And then, of course, we want to have some time for some hypnosis at the end. So, so it does take a bit of time.
Yeah. By the way, can you use the same program with individuals then? The material that's in the 6-week program?
Absolutely. You just simplify it. You wouldn't do some of the group activities, but all the homework, all of the sessions, all of the topics to dive into absolutely would be the same.
And so your protocol is a standard one. Same, everybody gets the same first session. Everybody gets the same second session, same third session, etc.
To a degree, I do include some additional scripts and additional things that they can do. So if I'm working with teens, I might not do as much relationship stuff with them. I might do more team building, or I might do more self-esteem stuff. So there's really enough material for 7 weeks in there, and you can kind of play around with it if you need to fit the group that's with you right then.
Now, Sherry, I'm the virtual hypnotist, right? So I have a question that I'm just dying to ask you. Could you do these groups online?
Oh, yes. Yeah, absolutely. I haven't done this a lot online, but I have done it online. And I've done other similar things to this online, and it works really, really well.
Lovely.
It's not my preferred way to work, because I kind of vibe on the energy of the people in the room with me. So
Sure.
Personally, I prefer it, but sometimes it's really helpful if they can just be logging in from wherever they are. So a couple of years ago, I actually worked with a bunch of people that were getting ready to go out on deployment, and they weren't here in my state. So we did it all online, and it worked out really well.
Nice. Yeah, I tend to notice that I have more people that attend programs, things that I do that are in faraway places,
Yeah.
So it's a lovely idea to be able to run something like that on the internet. And
Absolutely.
I'm right with you, Sherry. There's nothing better than breathing the same air, and all of that stuff. I really do get that. On the other hand, isn't it lovely that here we are now having a delightful conversation together. We are a million miles apart, and I can groove on your energy if
Yes.
I.
I'm just going to throw it right through the computer right to you.
Yeah, sure enough.
Yeah, and I tend to get comfortable with it, because I have some clients that are professional athletes, so they're gone a lot of the year. I have, here in Arizona, we get winter visitors, so they're here maybe 4 months out of the year and someplace else the rest of the year. So, you just have to. If your clients move out of state, and I'm happy to give them a referral to somebody in another state if I can, but sometimes they just want to continue working with you. So I've had to get comfortable working in virtual land, and it's definitely, and I think for new practitioners, it's a great way to start, because no overhead. You don't have an office. I spend a lot of money on my office every month. So.
Right.
Cool. Well, I'll tell you what I'm also wondering about. You've got to have some secret to share with us. So right now, what is it that most hypnotherapists could just add to what it is that they're doing that would improve their results with smoking?
So I knew you were going to ask me this question. So the things I get asked for the most are scripts. So I'm going to offer a script that I just recently wrote to add to this program on how to rewire the brain. If someone wants to email me, I will send them that. That's one thing they can get. If you want to put my email address in the chat box, that would be great. But the thing that always surprises me that a lot of hypnotherapists don't use, smoking cessation or anything else you're working on, is they don't use a lot of anchors. And I use anchors all the time. And for smoking cessation, I use scent and taste anchors, because it gives them something to smell that reminds their subconscious of being happy about being free of cigarettes, but also because they can just pop it in their mouth as well. So I'll do like cinnamon or lemon or orange or peppermint or something like that, that it can be a smell and a taste. So I anchor cool, clear, refreshing water, because I need them drinking a lot of water and hydrating well. And I give them a little baggie with everything that I've anchored. So if I've anchored the scent and taste of orange, they get a little bag with a thing of essential oil that's got orange in it. They get a little thing of orange tea. They get a little thing of orange Tic Tacs. I have this orange scented silly putty to play with. Different things like that, so they go out with that. So anchors would be something that I would really encourage. Homework things, again, I'm always surprised how many people give only the basic homework. Smoke with your other hand, keep them in your trunk, that kind of stuff. Do stuff that's going to actually help them manage what's going on in their world. So teach them diaphragmatic breathing. If you don't know how to do diaphragmatic breathing, you go out to my YouTube channel. I've got a video on it. I did that for my clients that forget how to do it, so they can go back out and look at it on there. Neuroplasticity techniques, so that they're actually changing their autonomic nervous system. They're changing the way the neural pathways are going in their brain. And then give them, if you know how to do it, give them some relationship building exercises. It's surprising to me how many people miss that piece, that it changes their relationship with their friends, their family, and in particular, their significant other. This smoking has been an ongoing coping skill that affects every relationship in their life, and now they need something new to manage that. And then if you can do, even if you're not doing groups right now, if you can do a closed Facebook group for your smoking cessation clients, so that they can go online anytime, day or night, and read support, read what's working for people, get suggestions, get advice.
Oh my God, I don't want my clients to talk to each other.
I didn't catch what you said.
I'm joking. I said, oh my God, I don't want my clients to talk to each other.
Oh, they'll be out there going, oh, Michael is so great, I promise you.
Well, that's what I mean. And then the adulation just gets to be too much.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I only pop in once or twice a week to make sure all the questions have been answered. But it's such a good support for them. And anything that we do that provides them with a way to have support, anything we do that provides them with a way to have accountability, anything we do that provides them with a way to have a better life experience, just means they're going to be more successful and they're going to refer to you more.
So I'm curious about your Facebook groups. Do you set one up for each group that you do, or do you have one big thing that all of your groups roll into?
Right now I have been playing with it being separate for each group, but I'm thinking of changing that and doing it as one big group. This is something new. I've just been playing with it for a year. Most of my groups this year came from some friends and referral partners of mine that have been, they're in like the Next Door Neighbor app, they're in mommy groups, they're in dog training groups, they're in, lawyers under 40 groups, in these closed Facebook pages that I don't have access to. And when someone comes on and posts, hey, it's the new year and I want to stop smoking, they're out there putting my name and number on there. And so that's what gave me the idea, is I was suddenly inundated in January and February with a lot of groups because of these people putting my name out there in Facebook, closed Facebook groups. So I thought, oh my gosh, I'm missing this. I'm not a social media person. I'm a little late to the game. So it just occurred to me, I should be doing this. There should be a group for that. So I've been doing it individually. I think that was a mistake. I think that I should do it as a whole. So I am going to try merging them before we get to Orlando, coming up really soon. I almost said Daytona Beach, but Orlando. And see how that works so that I can talk about that in the class.
Cool. So Sherry, I just want to interrupt long enough to get clear with your address and stuff, because the chat room doesn't show up in the recording, and some people are going to be watching this.
Oh, okay. Let me give it then. It's a little bit long, so it's Sherry, SHERRY at illuma.life, and I'm going to spell that for you. ILLU, M as in Mary, I.life, LIFE. Now somebody's going to think, no, where's the .net, the .com? There isn't one. It's .life, and it just happens to work with my business name, so that's why it works that way.
And what's the name of your YouTube channel?
If you put in Illuma Life, if you're going to put in Illuma Life, you're going to have a hard time finding it. So if they'll email me, I'll send them a link. And then if people would please subscribe to my YouTube channel, that would help, because if your YouTube channel doesn't have 100 subscribers, I just learned this, if it doesn't have 100 subscribers, it won't show up when people search for it.
Oh, wow.
So my clients are having a hard time finding it because I didn't tell them to subscribe to it. So now I'm doing that. And I think I'm up to about 60 subscribers. So every extra one helps.
Okay. So, by the way, I just might mention it is question and answer time. So if anybody has some questions for Sherry, feel free to wave your hand about or write something in the chat room, or you can even just put a question mark in the chat room, and then we'll open up your microphone so that you can ask your question. All about smoking, all about groups and smoking in particular.
So I'm
And
curious, out of these groups, Sherry, I mean, you're doing such a volume. There's bound to be along the way somebody who didn't. Do you ever have hecklers or naysayers, and what do they do to the group dynamic?
Yeah, this is where we have to be really in control of the group and not see ourselves in the hypnotherapist role, but in the facilitator or teacher role, and just step in and get turned around. One of the best ways to do that is to just interrupt and say, you know, hey, Joe is having an issue, it sounds like, with this situation. Who has a suggestion for him, or who needs more information about that before they ask a suggestion? I also run mastermind groups, and in mastermind groups there's a protocol of you ask some clarifying questions and then you make suggestions. So if there's enough time, I'll actually say, let's mastermind this, and I'll get out the whiteboard and say, okay, so who's got some clarifying questions for Joe? And suddenly now everybody's engaged in let's help Joe with his problem, and he's got to be a hardcore heckler to be willing to still fight me at that point. And it's not me giving the suggestions, because if I do that, I appear defensive, and now I'm fighting with him, and I just don't want to engage with that. And the other way you can do it if you don't have the time to do that is just say, you know, that sounds like a challenge that you and I should talk about outside of class. In the interest of getting through today's material, let's put a pin in that, and we'll move on, and you and I'll chat later and just move on. But you got to be willing to step into facilitator or teacher role, and not that supportive, kind hypnotherapist role.
yeah,
It doesn't happen a lot, I will say, for a couple of reasons. There's 3 things that are required to make change. You have to have awareness, which they have. They showed up, they paid their money, motivation, and consistency over time. So the motivation waxes and wanes, and if they're in there heckling, it's probably because something is causing stress and anxiety in their life, and if we can help them manage it, we can get them back on track. But they're not going to disrupt my class over that.
yeah. Yeah, I was curious about that because, of course, people also have different degrees of success. Some people are, you know, like knocking dominoes over, and the person sitting next to them may be like really struggling.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if they're struggling, you know, we don't want them to feel like that's blame or shame, right? Because everyone is going to progress at a different rate. And so we can celebrate that person A had a really easy time of it and still find a way to support person B. And that's our role as a facilitator, is to, you know, make sure that everybody gets celebrated and find the other person's success. Maybe it was a teeny tiny success. Maybe they reduced by 1 cigarette a week. Fine, I love that. Let's celebrate that. Rather than saying, well, you didn't meet the goal you set for yourself. No, we made progress, and teeny tiny progress is way better than no progress. And in fact, when people aren't getting progress, it's actually part of the problem. We tend to set too big of goals for ourselves. And if they're, and this happens usually more at the beginning of the program, they're very gung-ho, they're going to cut their smoking in half, and maybe that's too big of a step for them. They haven't gotten enough of the coping skills in place yet, and it's too big of a step. So let's cut that way back, because I'd rather that they have a teeny tiny success to build on and let the next success be bigger than set them up for a potential failure.
Cool. Something I'd like to add here, and you can tell me if this makes sense or if I'm just way off base. But if you run a program like this, you know, for a while, it seems that underneath of it there is a prototype for something that you could modify to do a 6-session group program for weight loss, for example, or something else, kind of using the same structure at least that that's already been put together here.
Yeah, I use it for anything they want to stop doing. Weight loss, I include more private sessions because there's often some more underlying emotional stuff. But I've worked with people wanting to get off alcohol with this program. You just change tobacco for alcohol. Yeah, in anything soda pop, you know, that's a big one. People want to get off of that. Sugar, people want to get off of that. So yeah, absolutely. You can take this template and play with it and adapt it in a lot of different ways.
And so almost everything you do is in a 6-session package.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. 6 just seems like a magical number for me. It's by the 6th session, in the vast majority of groups, everybody's off the cigarettes, everybody's had some success. That 6th week is just because they like each other now, they're bonded with each other now, they want to come hang out and enjoy it. And I let them do a lot of running of that last session.
6 is, of course, a magic number, and being here in Orlando, I can't help but think that it's the dwarfs without Dopey. So perfect.
So, and I'm a little dopey today because I've had a little bit of cough medicine. So,
there you go.
Maybe I'm the 7th, right?
I know a seminar for that. Great. Well, look, this just sounds like it's a really lovely program, and I wonder just to put the icing on the cake, if we can give people a little bit of a picture. I always like to ask, what's going to be happening in the classroom? Will they sign up? And, what will it look like?
We're going to have a lot of fun. We want to go through all of the programs, so we'll practice the icebreakers, which are a lot of fun. So everybody gets bonded for the day. We're going to go through all the different activities. We won't have time to actually experience all of the sessions in hypnosis, usually just one, but we'll go through all of the scripts and techniques so everybody gets really comfortable with them. They'll get all of the materials on paper, but they'll also get them digitally, and so that they've got that going home. We'll actually talk about the different kind of handout, the giveaways you might do, how you might market it, and it's just, we're going to have a lot of fun. If people learn best when they're having a good time, and I want everyone to come in and have the day go by so quickly that they feel like they blinked their eyes and the day was over.
Lovely. That sounds great. So, and I don't know, Sherry, you've not seen the hotel.
No, I'm super excited. I called and talked to people over there when I booked my room. So I have my flights, I have my room. I'm just so excited to be in a different place.
Yeah, well, it's really a fantastic place, and it's actually a hotel that's been there for a while, and a group that I'm involved with here used to have conferences there. They now have. Then it was closed for a little bit, and they just gutted the whole hotel. I mean, and in this place where we used to go, there's now this incredible modern, shiny. I mean, yeah, it's just fantastic. It's really great. And really perfect for our streaming audiences as well, and all of that stuff. It's got all the technological bells and whistles that we need. So
well, that's nice, but truthfully, it's really, for me, it's about the people. So it's nice that we're going to be in a shiny new hotel, but it's the people, right? It's like a little bit of a family reunion each year because I haven't talked to you since last year, Michael.
But I'll tell you what, I look a lot better in a shiny hotel than I do in squalor.
Well, okay. I accept that.
So it'll be nice. All right. Well, we are to the end of our time, I'm afraid. So thank you, Sherry, for being here with us. We're gonna give you a round of applause in a minute. I'll open up the microphones and stuff so that we can do that. But before we do, let me just put a couple little concluding announcements in here to remind people that. Well, one announcement that isn't about the presenter series, but is about the virtual chapter on this very same login and everything else. On Tuesday night this week, the virtual chapter meets the second Tuesday of every month, and we will have as our guest Larry Ellman to talk about growing up Ellman, and really a nice intimate conversation about being with his dad and and some stuff like that. So I'm really looking forward to that.
And you're going to get some things from him too, secrets about his dad. You know, Dave Ellman, who taught so much about this, had some secrets that his son knows, and we're going to find out some of those.
Absolutely. And so next week, 1 week from tonight, same time, that channel will be the presenter series once again. It will be the last in the last meeting in the presenter series, as a matter of fact. And I will be interviewing Karen Hand, and she will be interviewing me about interviewing her, I suspect. And then together we will both gang up on Peter Blum. And Linda's going to talk about secret sauce for session success. I just love that. And Peter is going to be talking about transonics. So be there or be square. Don't forget the video will be posted tomorrow on the IACT IMDHA forum. It will be posted on the Virtual Chapter YouTube channel. It will be posted on the Virtual Chapter Facebook page as well. And it'll be purchased on the website for IACT and for IMDHA as well. Under conference, there's a little tab that says teleconferences or webinars or something like that, and we are right there. So, and be sure and go out there and get your CEUs. So, what else do we got to say, Karen?
I think that's it. Join us Tuesday and next Sunday night, and have a great week and successful one as well.
All
and
right.
we'll see you in Orlando.
We will see you in Orlando, and I'm going to open up the microphones now, and everybody, you can wish Sherry a good night, and if you do it loud enough, all the way across the English Channel, Sheila Granger may be awakened by your thunderous applause, and that would be great. So thanks a lot, Sherry, for being here. We really appreciate it.
Sure.
Good
Thank
night,
you.
And thanks, Sheila, when you see the replay. Good night, everybody.
Night.